Hi and welcome. So today I want to share with you why cutting back on your eating is not going to help your emotional eating and that you probably need to eat more. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and emotional eating expert. And today I wanted to share a bit more on why we probably need to eat more as emotional eaters and why advice that tell you just to stop eating so much is not really getting to the deeper roots of this pattern. So something that a client recently told me is that she was told to just stop eating so much. And this was advice given to her by an emotional eating expert. And this made me cringe inside because it showed me that this person didn't really understand the pattern. And so, of course, when you're going through an emotional eating binge and you're ravenous and then you say to yourself, I shouldn't be eating that much, and I'm sure you're already telling yourself that creates more shame and piles shame on top of shame. And so, that's not really the solution to help your emotional eating. We need to get into the root. And so what I noticed with clients and how we work through the emotional eating pattern in my program, the Emotional Eating Evolution program, is that we look at different phases. And the first phase that we look at is true nourishment. And so when we really focus on true nourishment, I notice that a lot of clients, they have a diet mentality. They are really restrictive about their food and they can restrict food for a certain amount of time. They usually don't nourish themselves throughout the day. They skip out on meals and then they binge. And so if you are not creating time and space to nourish yourself throughout the day, you're going to end up binging. And this doesn't mean you have no self-control. This means that you're not listening to your body's cues. And when you've been on so many diets, what usually happens is that you don't trust your own hunger cues. You don't know how to find them. This was something I experienced myself. So I didn't know when I was truly hungry. I thought I was hungry all the time because I didn't even know how to tune into my own body because I was using food to soothe myself when I was emotional. I was eating food, I guess, when I was hungry. I just felt hungry all the time. Nothing would satisfy me. And when I started to discern true from emotional hunger, it was groundbreaking. And that led me to nourishing my body more often throughout the day, to really satisfying my hunger. And I teach clients to do this on multiple levels. There are 4 components to truly satisfying your hunger. And one of them is being able to eat so that your stomach feels satisfied physically. So this is not about diet mentality and calories and you eat something this small and you still feel ravenous. There are different components to hunger we need to look at. And when we're able to nourish ourselves, we can eliminate some of that binging that can be created. And usually I see that binging happening in the afternoon, and, sometimes later on in the night. Later on in the night, I feel it tends to be more emotional, but we need to nourish our body in order to discern, are we binging out of not nourishing ourselves throughout the day with proper combinations of food and eating enough at each meal? Or are we really triggered into our emotional eating and going towards food to soothe ourselves? So when we're able to nourish ourselves and eat more throughout the day, we're going to really pinpoint that emotional eating pattern. And we're going to really feel, okay, this is the deeper issue going on. Because you can't work through trauma when it's something physical. One of your needs is to physically eat enough. Once we get that and we work on the emotional eating pattern, that advice of just stop eating so much in that moment where you're just consuming food to numb out, to not feel that discomfort, to just soothe yourself. It's really hard in that moment if you have nothing to meet your true needs, if you don't even know how to access your true needs. Because I can tell you, if this is emotional trauma, eating food is not meeting your true needs. It's providing a band-aid to soothe you, to give you some relief from this discomfort, from this overwhelming feeling that's coming up. I had a client describe, it just pushes down those emotions that are bubbling up to the surface. Because as a society, we haven't been taught how to be with those emotions, how to move through them. It's not as simple as just sitting and feeling them if we haven't been taught this, if we haven't been shown how to regulate ourselves, and we haven't been modeled this. We need to learn this. And as a society, this has not been in place, because if we weren't modeled this by our parents, they weren't modeled this, and it goes down the line. And so we need to learn how to really move through those emotions and understand that emotions are giving us information, and to discern whether it's true for us, what are our next steps to actually move through and process those emotions on a somatic level, and get into the, of the unresolved issues that created this trauma and is creating this pattern. And then when we do that, we will no longer go to food, and we won't, then we cannot eat as much if I'm going to follow that advice. That's where the behavior changes, where we're not going towards food to cope. We are genuinely going out of food out of hunger. So in those moments, we can check in. Are we truly hungry? Is this an emotional hunger? And actually feed that emotional hunger what it needs, the true needs of what we needed in that moment to get that deeper resolution. And then we won't go to the food. And so this is how we create that healthy relationship to food and to our body, because now we're respecting food. We're respecting the place that it has. Its place is not to soothe us. Its place is to nourish us. And yes, food is pleasurable. But when we start using it to numb out and cover up emotions, it's not in its rightful place. We are using it as a band-aid. And that doesn't get us to a place in our life that feels healthy and that feels whole. And so once we're able to do this and move through these layers, we start creating this relationship to food, to our body, and to our emotions that is healthy for us, and that's going to lead us into a more aligned way of living, to feel good in our body, to feel more confident, to feel more at ease. And so inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program, we work through emotional eating in these phases. So there are a little bit more phases than this. We move through true nourishment, and then into body acceptance, emotional wellness, and then more into lifestyle. But the two key areas are going to be about the true nourishment and the emotional wellness. The body part plays in as well to help us with where we are turning to food, where we can minimize some of those triggers that are not emotionally related. And so when we do this, we're getting to the deeper roots of this pattern, and we're removing those layers, and we're not just trying to slap on a behavior change. And so steps you can start taking right now is to look at what's your dialogue with food. Are you constantly restricting yourself? Are you constantly monitoring yourself? Do you feel satisfied after meals? Do you eat regularly? Do you know your hunger cues? And, if you don't know those basic things, we might think we're eating well and nourishing ourselves because we're following some kind of plan, but we need to touch into our own body, because we're all individual, and we need to know what our cues are and how we feel satisfied and how our moods are shifting. And so when we're able to do that, truly nourish our bodies throughout the day, then we can pinpoint those emotional eating triggers and get to the deeper root pattern there as well. So like I mentioned, we work through this inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program. It's my step-by-step methodology with lots of support. There's accountability, there's coaching, there's meditations, there is lots of guidance and support to help you move through this pattern from the root so you can move forward and finally resolve it in a sustainable way. So if this is calling out to you, I'd love to invite you to check out more about it. I'll post a link below. And if you're ready to resolve your emotional eating, you can also book in an emotional eating assessment call. So on the call, we find out more about you, your goals, and how we can support you in the program. So thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.